Great to see. JustProfessor here. You remember seeing more than you actually saw. Your brain takes a quick glance at something and then fills in everything around the edges with made-up details. You think you remember the full scene, but half of what you're remembering never entered your eyes. Your memory is literally inventing parts of every experience without telling you. Think about a photo you saw recently. If someone asked you to describe what was in it, you'd probably remember not just what was in the frame, but also what you think was just outside the frame. You remember a wider view than what you actually saw. Your brain extended the boundaries of the image in your memory, adding details that weren't there. This is boundary extension, and it's happening with every single thing you look at and remember. Boundary extension is when your memory automatically expands scenes beyond what you actually perceived. You look at something with limited boundaries, like a photo or a quick glance, and your brain stores a memory that includes more space around the edges than you actually saw. You remember the scene as zoomed out, wider, more complete. But those extra details your brain added weren't really there. Your brain predicted what should be there based on context and past experience, then inserted those predictions into your memory as if they were real. This happens because your brain hates incomplete information. When you see a scene, your eyes only capture a limited view. But your brain knows that scenes don't just end at the edges of your vision. There's always more space around what you're looking at. So your memory system automatically predicts what that surrounding space probably looked like and adds it to your memory. This makes memories feel more complete and coherent. The problem is those added details are guesses, not actual perceptions, but they feel just as real as what you truly saw. The issue is you have no idea which parts of your memories are real and which parts your brain extended beyond the actual boundaries. You trust your visual memories as if they're accurate recordings, but they're actually reconstructed versions that include fictional extended boundaries. This affects eyewitness testimony, your memory of places you've been, your recollection of photos and videos, and basically every visual memory you have. Let me show you where this creates problems. Crime scene memory gets distorted by boundary extension. A witness sees a crime happen. They got a limited view of the scene. But when they remember it later, their brain has extended the boundaries. They remember seeing more of the room, more of the street, more of the surroundings than they actually saw. They confidently describe details from areas that were outside their actual field of view. Their brain filled in what should have been there, and now they remember those invented details as if they really saw them. Photo memory demonstrates this perfectly. Show someone a photo, then take it away and ask them to describe it. They'll describe not just what was in the photo, but also what they think was just outside the frame. They remember a wider scene than what the photo showed. If you show them the photo again, they're surprised it was more zoomed in than they remembered. Their brain extended the boundaries automatically. Navigation and spatial memory use boundary extension constantly. You walk through a building or down a street. You only see limited views at any moment. But when you remember the space later, you remember it as more open and extensive than your actual views were. Your brain connected your limited glimpses into an extended mental map that includes spaces you never directly saw. Some of those spaces are accurate predictions. Some are completely wrong, but they all feel equally real in your memory. Movies and TV show a weird version of this. You watch a scene and later you remember seeing things that were implied but not shown. Your brain extended the boundaries of what was on screen to include what logically should have been there. You remember a wider shot than what was filmed. You remember details from angles the camera never showed. Boundary extension filled in your memory with plausible details that match the scene, but weren't actually in the footage. Childhood memories are heavily affected by boundary extension. You have memories of your childhood home, your school, places you went. But you were smaller then, with a different field of view, and you only saw those places from limited angles. Yet you remember them as complete extended spaces. Your brain took your limited child-sized views and extended them into full spatial memories that include areas you probably never saw clearly. Much of your memory of those places is boundary extension rather than actual recall. Eyewitness identification suffers from this. A witness sees a suspect briefly in limited conditions. Their brain extends the boundaries of that brief glimpse, adding details about height, build, surroundings that weren't clearly visible in the actual moment. They remember seeing the person more clearly and completely than they did. Their extended memory feels certain, but it includes details their brain invented to complete the scene. Reading creates boundary extension in imagination. You read a description of a place in a book. The author describes certain details. Your brain extends those details into a complete scene with much more information than the text provided. Later, you might think the book described things that it never actually mentioned. Your boundary extension of the described scene added details that feel like they were in the text but weren't. Virtual reality and video. Games show boundary extension in action. You look at a limited screen or view, but you remember the game world is more expansive than what you actually saw at any moment. Your brain extended the boundaries of each view to create a sense of a larger world. Some of what you remember about the game space came from boundary extension, not from what was actually rendered on screen. Security camera footage reveals how limited actual views are compared to extended memories. Someone reviews footage of an event they witnessed. They were shocked at how zoomed in and limited the camera view is compared to their memory of the scene. They remember seeing much more of the space than the camera captured. That extra space they remember came from boundary extension, not from actual perception. Here's what makes boundary extension particularly tricky. The extended boundaries aren't random. Your brain makes educated guesses based on context. If you see the center of a room, your brain extends the memory to include walls around the edges because rooms have walls. These predictions are often correct in general, but wrong in specifics. The room probably had walls, but not necessarily the walls your brain added to your memory. This means boundary extension sometimes helps and sometimes hurts. It helps you build coherent mental models of spaces from limited views. It helps you navigate and understand your environment, but it hurts accuracy. The extended details feel real but aren't based on actual perception. You can't distinguish between what you saw and what your brain added. The extension happens automatically and immediately. By the time you're consciously remembering something, the boundaries have already been extended. You never experience the original limited memory. You only experience the extended version. This makes it impossible to correct without external verification like photos or video that show you the actual boundaries of what you saw. People with training can reduce boundary extension slightly by consciously trying to remember only what was literally in their field of view. But the bias is so automatic that even trained observers extend boundaries in their memories. The brain's drive to create complete coherent scenes overrides attempts to remember only literal perceptions. Understanding boundary extension changes how you evaluate your own memories. That clear visual memory you have might be partly real and partly your brain's extensions beyond the actual boundaries of what you perceived. The confidence you feel in visual memories doesn't distinguish between perceived details and extended details. Both feel equally certain. This doesn't mean all your memories are false. The core of what you saw is probably accurate. But the edges, the surrounding context, the spatial extent, these are often extended beyond what you actually perceived. Your memory creates a wider, more complete scene than your perception captured. The next time you're certain about visual details in a memory, consider that some of those details might be boundary extensions rather than actual perceptions. Your brain filled in the edges to make the memory complete. Those filled-in edges feel real because your brain designed them to feel indistinguishable from actual memories. But they're predictions, not perceptions. You can't eliminate boundary extension. It's built into how visual memory works. But you can be appropriately humble about the certainty of your visual memories, especially details about the extent and boundaries of scenes. What you remember seeing is always somewhat more extended than what you actually saw. Subscribe to learn more about memory illusions distorting your recall of the past.